All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. So excited to have Alex Assaley on the show today. Alex is so incredible as far as putting out great content and really, I think, a leader in our industry. And if you don't know Alex, I'd be surprised if you do any kind of 401k business, he definitely would pop up in your LinkedIn feed and other places, and he puts a lot of content out. So thankful. Alex, thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much, Jake, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and so I've looked at I watched a lot of video. We haven't actually met in person, so I'm excited for when that day happens because I feel like I know you pretty well, and it'll be good to spend some time. We would be in Vegas actually this week, which would have been a blast. But well, I'm sure that'll happen one day. But I was excited because I was looking back through kind of the history of how you got to where you are, and you were the top advisor, participant outcomes in what was it, 2018?
Yep. Yeah.
And
So that was pretty great. That was very cool. I was humbled and appreciative of that for sure.
And I think that was a kind of a big year. And I don't know, was that kind of you'd been doing this for a long time, right? But was that a year that just seemed everything was starting to click as far as, having content that people were seeing and recognizing from an industry standpoint? Or did I just miss, maybe I wasn't really that deep into the industry at that point. So.
Well, it's interesting. I think that it's one of these processes that, you spend a lot of time and energy and effort, and the gratification is very much delayed. No, not too different to retirement savings. So, a couple of years ago, and certainly now as well, we're getting very good traction and engagement around the digital content that we deliver and helping people think about their financial lives. And most of it is geared towards two different cohorts, two different types of audience members or viewers: the retirement committee members and leaders within organizations, and then the employees or the everyday personal finance audience. So we've started to see great engagement there, but we've been working on this for a long time, and we've been delivering different modes of communication and content going back 10 plus years, if not, well, probably even longer, but really in earnest 10 plus years. And so inside our client relationships, we've been able to create really strong engagement and consistency for quite a while, but certainly on the social platforms like LinkedIn in particular, in 2018 and now the last couple of years, we've started to I think build a bit of a brand, which has been really cool and worthwhile and a lot of fun to do as well.
Yeah, and I think that's what I wanted to get into today. Was you've been really thoughtful and I think a leader in going into digital strategies earlier than most advisors. I think we struggle in our industry as far as putting out content. And what you pointed on there was that you're doing it for specific audiences, and that's the key factor. I think is that digital allows us to target the right people, and whether it's a participant, a CFO, an HR, like there's a different message that they need to hear and things that will help them. And you can't just blanket statement, this is what a Roth is all the time. Like they know that. Like let's dive a little deeper. And so you started your YouTube show, which is called Money Hacks, right? And
right. Yep.
Is that something that goes out? You share that with every single participant. How do you do that? Give me some details on the whole process around creating the show and then distributing it, making sure you're getting actual people looking and watching it.
So I just shot a couple videos in my home office. I'm actually in my my office today, which is one of the first times I've been here during this COVID environment. But I just shot, I think, number 71 and 72 of Money Hacks. So our goal, we launched those at the beginning of 2019, and our goal was to try to get a Money Hacks short, digestible video out every 2 weeks. And so we're ahead of that goal. And in a lot of this, even with the digital content, much of it is trial and error and having an idea and working through that idea, brainstorming it with our team and seeing if it's something that can really deliver value to the end user, to the customer, to the person out in the marketplace that wants help, guidance, or advice around different areas with respect to personal finance. So
so how do you
this
come
is
up
really
with
born
those?
out of
Like, how do you come up with the ideas of what content you're going to share? Because 77 episodes, I mean, I would get to the point like, where do I go next with this?
Well, I think so. There are certain topics that are worth repeating and worth, having, as if we think about movies, a lot of times there's this idea that the sequel is never better than the original, but there are certain topics in personal finance that, we can introduce a really foundational piece of information and then have another 30, 60, 90-second video that helps build somebody's financial know-how or knowledge. But it's really born out of the sort of our values and our culture at AFS. Since we started our retirement consulting business and company, going back now 15 plus years ago, we've at sort of the center point of what we do, we've always been focused on one-on-one advice or one-on-one coaching to employees within the companies and organizations we serve. So, while financial wellness and financial advice has become a huge trend and a huge wave that many advisory firms are riding right now, and I think it's awesome. I've talked with others about, as this trend materializes in the marketplace, regardless of how it's being delivered or the different systems, the different strategies. I think there are a lot of different models you can employ. The fact that it's such an emerging trend and a big part of the retirement plan space today is, I think, really, really awesome and important. So money hacks were born out of that. And, that over the last 15 years, we've now done, I think, something like 15,000 unique one-on-one sessions. So we've met with 15,000 different employees at companies and organizations around the Washington, D.C. area, the Mid-Atlantic region, and to some degree around the country. And, in those sessions, we're talking about some of the basic tenets of retirement plan saving and strategies, but very quickly off of those basics around, how much should you be saving? How are you investing? Ensuring that you understand building a game plan for retirement readiness. The conversation quickly moves to these other areas that are really important within somebody's financial life, right? And the way I like to describe that is, none of us view our various components of our financial life in silos. That, okay, this is my retirement plan. I'm going to make a decision here that is exclusive to the retirement plan and has no impact over, my health insurance spending or my, budget on a daily basis or these other bills and needs I have. It's all one comprehensive financial picture. So as we were getting these questions from employees over the course of those, last several years, last 10, 15 years, that kind of spurred the seeds of this idea of Money Hacks to start building these short videos. And some of them are a minute long, admittedly, just like I'm answering this question in a long-winded way. Some of them go to 4 or 5 minutes. And so, I've got a great team in the digital sort of media and content role within AFS that helps cut those down and make them really digestible and worthy to put out to the marketplace.
Yeah. So tell me, give me what's it like? What's the process like? Because I think the rhetoric or the real industry the wholesalers try to say, well, just rely on the record keeper to do that. They have content they're putting out, and you chose to make it yourself. Why did you choose that? And then what's that like? Do you just literally set up a tripod? I mean, what are you using to shoot? And then what's the editing process like? How long does that take? Like if you were just starting this out right now and you had no clue, you just had your iPhone, like what would you do to get to where you are now? So
I'll share how we do it, and then I'll give you some ideas or how I would think about if somebody else wanted to do it. The Money Hacks in particular are meant to be single shot, minimal production, short videos that are catered towards employees within the companies and organizations we serve, as well as investors in the marketplace on numerous topics around personal finance. So what happens is every 2 weeks, our team generates a handful of ideas. So there might be anywhere from 5 to 10 different ideas or topics based on articles that were written, posts on social media, or something that somebody asked them in a one-on-one coaching session over the course of the last few weeks. So I get this list of ideas, and we spend a little bit of time right now because we're all working remotely. Historically, we were, for the most part, in an office setting. Right now, we kind of brainstorm via email, shooting some emails back and forth. We narrow it down to, 3 or 4 of the top topics, top ideas we want to shoot some content around. And then, today I simply set up my phone on, somewhere in wherever I'm going to shoot this video, if it's in my backyard or my, home office sort of jam room, you see the musical instruments and stuff.
Yeah.
And I shoot it on my phone and send it over to Casey on our team. And she, cleans me up and cleans it up for me and makes it worthy content for us to push out onto the social platforms. But the other thing we do that I think is really worth noting and important is that we have our own financial wellness platform called MoneyNav. And so MoneyNav is the hub for how we're delivering financial education, guidance, and advice to employees that are our 401k, 403b, and other retirement plan clients. So on that MoneyNav platform, we're also delivering these videos and organizing them by topic. And then further, based on somebody's engagement on our platform, they may get the content pushed out to them. So for example, if you've gone through a one-on-one coaching session with us and we've identified together or on your own through MoneyNav, one of your top priorities or your top priority is emergency savings. That's the top area that you need to focus on in order to continue to improve your financial life and develop financial security. And let's say for mine, it's debt management, right? If we do a video on emergency savings, that video is going to live on MoneyNav, but it's also going to get pushed out to you because we recognize that that's your current financial goal or priority. Whereas for me, I could go on to MoneyNav and see that video, but I'm in the debt management lane, right? That's what I really need to focus on. And so that emergency savings video is not going to get targeted to me.
Gotcha. So is that MoneyNav system a white label or is it something you guys built?
So it's a combination. We use a technology partner now to serve as the chassis of that system. We spent several years building the platform over 4 or 5 years of kind of researching and analyzing and testing the financial wellness fintech marketplace. We were looking at all these different providers out there. And again, I think there are a lot of great tools and resources out there. But for us, there was something really specific that we were looking for because the result was really what we were looking to do was help somebody, as I mentioned before, with their overall financial picture. And I just didn't find a suite or a tech stack that could deliver it the way we wanted. So we started building our own technology and running it in-house, which is great because we can have a lot of quality control around it. We can customize it and configure it to specific client needs. But once we got to a certain level, we recognized that it was going to be really untenable for us to continue to manage it in-house without a significant capital spend and maybe almost transforming into a tech company. So we needed to find a partner to really do that for us.
Cool. Okay. And so the content on there, is there more content on that system than you have like on your YouTube channel, or is that all the same content?
Yeah, right. So we have, all the content that you see, in the marketplace. We have a MoneyNav blog and website. We have the YouTube site. We're pushing content on the social platforms. But then inside MoneyNav for our clients and the employees that work in those organizations, there's specific content that lives on the platform. And then some really specific tools and resources and unique sort of technology that we've built in to help guide somebody through the steps of financial coaching.
I love it. Wow. Okay. So that is interesting because that's the same path that I'm going down as well, because I think it goes back to branding, understanding branding, marketing, and sales, and they're very different. And what you've chosen to do is I mean, all those videos are you and your team, right? You don't have actors or outside people. You're literally just grabbing your phones and set up a tripod and filming yourself,
Yep.
which
Yeah.
to me makes a ton of sense because it's your clients, and why not use technology? Even though you're probably talking to thousands and thousands of participants, they're seeing you. And so when you show up, they already know and like and trust you, even they've never done anything with you in person. And that's, I think, where this industry needs to go. Like, the advisors need to understand that they have the ability now to be in more places without spending so much time, because I'm still doing a lot of manual one-on-ones now. I'm still going out and seeing people, and it will take my whole day, which is why I end up doing emails all late at night, because I'm doing my one-on-ones all day with our team. And I got to use technology better. So we're really focused right now on our team doing the same thing. You're just light years ahead of us. So that's,
well, I think we're all trying to find ways that work right for our specific service model, but also the highest and best use of our time. So, the idea that I want somebody to walk away with and is not that, oh, I have to do it this way because Alex and Jake and others are doing it this way. And there's a lot of iterations on that, because, there are some of our peers that are creating some incredible content that, that they do it a little bit different than the videos you produce or that I do. And I'm blown away by it and how awesome that content is. And I send it to, to the folks on our team like Casey and Beth, who run a lot of our digital content and our financial wellness. But I also recognize that I'm not them. And so I can't replicate it the way that it's just not going to turn out the same way. And
right.
So the idea that I want somebody to approach this with is really understanding, personally, interpersonally, what am I best suited to deliver, right? What's my natural medium? What's my natural delivery method? We were, before we started recording, I just out of curiosity asked you, how do you prepare for, giving a presentation when you're speaking at a conference or at a client meeting? And I think everybody does it a little bit differently, and there is no one solution. It's a spectrum that you need to find your spot on that spectrum.
Right.
So,
you don't
I
have
think
to be good at all of it. That's what I'm constantly telling people. If you don't like video, don't do video. If you like audio, do audio, because people are busy and they're going to listen to it. Or if you're a good writer, which I suck at writing, do that. So you're totally right. Play off of what you're good at. Stop trying to be everything and copy stuff. Be you. I mean, that's probably the best advice we can give people.
At some point, the market also can become saturated. So I'll tell you a funny quick story that, going all the way back to 2007, 2008, when I was really first, trying to build the brand and build the company that we're building today. And so just getting, a couple of years into the industry, and anybody who's, started in the industry, whether it was 2 years ago or 20 years ago, knows those first 3 to 5 years are, a ton of work and a ton of pain and really slow moving to get that traction. But, we started offering webinars in 2007 and 2008, and we were delivering through GoToWebinar, these webinars on a monthly basis and on different topics catered towards prospective clients. So it was an effort to share our knowledge of in the marketplace and get, CFOs, benefits managers, HR directors to attend these sessions and learn more about, how we could navigate as retirement advisors and potentially, kind of build sort of a sales process. And we would get 30, 40, 50, 60 attendees to these webinars, really well qualified potential clients. And so through the course of 2007, early 2008, we were doing these webinars and just, had a ton of success. And then all of a sudden, by probably the middle of 2008, the numbers started dropping off to, 12 people registered, 15 registered. And we were, pushing out emails and just really promoting them. And you get like 8 people registered. And then 1 week we were holding a session, and my colleague, my partner, and I looked, and we had like 7 people had registered for this webinar. And he sent me a note via email, and he said, it's funny. I've probably received like 25 invitations for different webinars this week. And so all of a sudden, everybody really quickly caught up and started delivering that. And it became saturated to the point where it wasn't that captivating or interesting for that audience any longer. So I think, the video content that we do might go that route, where you go on, LinkedIn and you see 100 videos, you start to just kind of tune out. So we're always trying to refine that as well and find out, is there something else? Is there another medium that, we should be thinking about or delivering that's going to be really native to the person we're trying to reach?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on voice? And, everybody has an Echo or a Google or they have audio in their house, and we use a lot with, our kids and music and stuff. But what are your thoughts about potentially, one day someone saying, "Hey, Alexa, tell me my 401k balance," or, do you think that that's where we'll get to, or is that a waste of time?
So, I haven't gotten my own mind around how that really materializes, but I'm a continual student and try to learn and keep learning. And one of the people that I follow just from a marketing perspective is Gary Vaynerchuk. And, he's gotten just huge over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And he's all in on voice. And he thinks that'll be big. And I know some vendors have rolled out some voice first solutions with Echo and the Google product and things like that. I run. I know you are a cyclist, but I go for long runs, and I tend to listen to music when I do it. But every now and again, I'll listen to a podcast. And so whether it's in our industry or others, like Tim Ferriss podcast or something like that.
Yeah.
And so they're cool. They're really interesting to me, but I'm not regularly in on the, long form 2-3 hour podcasts just yet as just a recurring, entertainment or sort of business, use. But, others are all about it. And I think that there could be a future there.
Yeah. It'll be interesting
I'm not
to see
that,
how it goes.
I won't say that I'm, smart enough to navigate anything and everything that comes next. I just try to figure it out and deduce it down to what I think might work and how it might work. And again, I love to talk, and I think I have a lot to talk about. Could I fill an hour or 2 hours of a podcast of my own? I don't think so. Right. That's just not. I'm better on 1, 2, 3 minute videos, at least right now.
And I think that's fine. I think we all have busy lives and very little attention, but if you can, that's the whole idea that I think is important, is we don't need to have these big, long 1 hour, like whatever podcasts or other things to get the point across. The point is people are hungry for learning more. And I think that's what we find when we sit down with individual people with one-on-ones or whatever meeting we're in as 401k advisors or wholesalers. People want to learn and understand more, and they want it quickly, and they don't want a lot of BS. They really want to get to the point. And the more that we can deliver that to them in a medium that they like, that's the key. So, I'm very similar to you. I listen to Gary Vee all the time. I'm a huge fan. Tim Ferriss, I just started re-listening to the 4-Hour Work Week again because I need to refresh some things that I'm doing. And, there's a lot that I think people have curiosity about when it comes to their finances at certain points in their lives. And so if they're turning to the right source that's in alignment with what they're hearing, if they're, from when they're using, Money Nav or whatever product that they're learning from their 401k vendor, that's important. And so that leads to my other question with you. Like when you're going into like a prospect meeting or even a client, more of a prospect meeting, would you say you rely more on the AFS brand, like your company brand, or is it kind of, well, Alex is here and they kind of already know you? Like, are you at that point where you don't even have to introduce yourself? They're like, we want Alex.
I wish it were that, were that easy, or that I was at that level. But rarely, if ever, does anyone I mean, I think we've built a good brand where companies and organizations throughout the Mid-Atlantic region have perhaps heard of us or know us in some capacity, or can find us really quickly to build sort of that initial degree of sort of a relationship and rapport. But certainly when we're going into a prospective or potential client meeting or interview, it really, we still have to be able to demonstrate how we can deliver and how we can really enhance and add value to their retirement and overall benefits program. And we do that by demonstrating the team-oriented approach that AFS delivers, the brand of AFS. And obviously I'm biased around this, but one of the things that we've wanted to build over the last 15 years is a brand that is synonymous with reliability and accountability and an alignment of values with the clients that are a good fit, and do that so that they understand it's not about Alex or any one other person. It's about having a team and having consistency for the long term.
I love it. So tell me more about that team approach. So good example, let's say a lot of advisors, I think, kind of start into this industry super pumped, like you said, it's a really long road, a couple of years of just grinding it out. What does it take to get, when you have maybe 10 plans, what does it take to get to the next level, to where you're up to whatever your niche is? We'll get into niches in a second, but how did you do it? How's your team structured? How do you manage that from a team approach so that you can have that continual growth and not lose that high service level?
Well, I think it takes a tremendous amount of discipline and determination and a bit of luck. And just, you've got to put yourself in a position to be lucky as well. And so, like most advisors who have built really valuable and successful businesses, and I think we're on our way to that, to having those adjectives in front of our company name. I've been fortunate that there have been some really great mentors and leaders that came before me in this industry that helped pave the way, that I paid attention to and listened to and asked for their insight and input. And so, I never let go of an opportunity to, in a conversation like this, to just reiterate how valuable that was, that our industry in particular is one that is very collegial, and there are a lot of people that are willing and able to provide their insight and expertise and guidance along the way. And there's some great folks and practitioners in the industry that did that for me. But I think that ultimately you've got to stay disciplined and determined to continue to grow if that's the route you want to take, and then really recognize where it is. Well, just to take a step back, I think the first question that we should be asking ourselves is, what's the problem that I'm trying to solve? Where's this issue in our lives and in our conversation, in the scope of personal finance, retirement plan, consulting, financial advice? What's the issue or the problem where I can help create a solution and deliver and improve whatever that problem is? And so for me, it came in understanding and being experienced to and realizing that the vast majority of America's workers need help when it comes to their financial lives. They don't have and will never have their own personal financial advisor for a myriad of reasons, but they need and want help. And for a lot of those individuals and families and households, they can create financial success and financial security, but they just don't have the tools or the resources to know how to do it. And so I wanted to try to solve that. And so that was building a service model, building a mission and a vision around that was the only thing that I focused on for 15 plus years now.
So what's the
So
structure?
the other
Like,
things are,
what's that like for you? I mean, are you kind of at the top and you've got account managers that are working, and because that's a huge volume of one-on-ones. How do you manage that? You bring on a new client. Is it your job to basically to find those relationships, and then you hand off that relationship, but you're still kind of the leader there? Or how does your office run? I mean, give us some insight on how we get to that next level from a
sure.
actual
So,
human capital.
I think you've got to, if, and there are advisors that do a version of what I'm talking about that have 20 plans and they have a, 2 or 3 person team, and they're, content and thrilled and have thriving, profitable and meaningful businesses at that size.
Yeah.
And, it works great. And so, I don't think we're going to get to a size where we have 100 employees, but, right now, as we've built out a team, the primary sort of fabric of our team is finding professionals, finding people who can buy into that mission and vision, who believe in that, and have different skill sets to help complement the ability to execute and deliver on that mission. But more specifically, what you're asking, I still am focused on, developing the strategy and the vision and creating the sort of structure internally to execute on it, as well as building and sharing our brand in the marketplace and going out and finding potential clients and hoping to turn them into clients, serving and being the main advisor and main point of contact for many of those clients, and then even delivering financial coaching sessions to employees. And I have a number of consultants who are colleagues on the team who have the same set of responsibilities essentially. But what's unique is that it's not as if these 20 plans are my clients, and then Jim or Allison, two of the other senior consultants, have 20 plans that are their clients. We may respectively be the main point of contact on those plans, but we're all involved in various aspects of client service around those plans. And so it's somewhat unique in that aspect. I don't want to, make it sound like there aren't specific roles and responsibilities that each of us have that are unique to our position. There are, but there are also areas of overlap so that a client and their employees see I have certain responsibilities for that client, and then Jim or Allison may be involved in certain areas as well. And again, I think that's important for a couple of reasons. One is just building this, the brand as the advisor, so that there's some enterprise value to the relationship, right? So that the client doesn't only think of the relationship as Jim or as Alex or as Allison. It's AFS and the team of AFS.
It's the team behind them. Yep.
Yeah. And then the second part of it is, because I think that it's really important to understand and have direct experience in some of these different aspects of the work that we do and the challenges that our clients as organizations and our clients as employees face. And it's easy to lose that degree of sort of direct experience. So we're just a few days prior to an election, and one of the gripes sometimes about politicians is that they're out of touch, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to, and I'm not saying that any political manner, but it's easy, I think, to lose touch with the reality that some organizations and some employees face if you're not experiencing it with them regularly. So,
a day in the life of Alex, you have a touch of everything. I mean, you literally could have an RFP, you could go and do a one-on-one. It could be a problem that arises. It could be a rollover. Like you're literally keeping your foot in the game while still keeping up here in the clouds, looking at the full big strategy. So clouds and dirt, Gary V, you're doing both, right? You're strategy and in the weeds, working hard. So that's a good, that's a good point.
You got to organize it so that it's efficient, right? We don't want it to be inefficient. You know, want to make sure you can build it and scale it if that's the goal. And so, you know, we've created some efficiencies around that, and there are certain areas of our service model and our business that are going to be Allison's responsibility, that I may only get a real glimpse of from time to time. And there are certain things that are Alex's responsibility, my responsibility, that Jim or Allison only get a glimpse of or an update on from time to time. But I do think it's worthy having that exposure, and there may be, you know, a consultant, a business consultant come in and say, well, that doesn't make sense. Alex shouldn't do any one-on-ones. And, you know, Allison shouldn't do any plan design calls or whatever. But I think that in the work that we do, because it's so critical to be the go-to resource for a client, you need to at least have some of that exposure in these different areas, so that you can maintain your knowledge, expertise, and ability to be empathetic with a client or with an employee, and the things that they're going through or experiencing when it comes to either their retirement plan or just their overall financial picture.
How do you manage that communication internally? Do you use a system? Do you what's the way, you know, a problem arises and Alice handles it and you need to be pulled in on it? How do you handle that?
So it's a continual effort for improvement. We are very systems oriented. We focus on building processes and procedures and using, you know, technology to help manage that. We use a CRM system, like I'm sure every advisory firm or advisor does. But you know, so
your CRM will manage that, like someone needs
to
roll over,
if we,
you'll kind of keep track of that in there.
But you got to, you know, I feel like the CRM is kind of like a, you know, like a German sports car. Like, it needs maintenance, right? It's not,
it does.
It's not the vehicle that you just, you know, put gas in it and do an oil change every, you know, 5,000 or 7,000 miles and you never have to worry about it again. You've got to maintain the CRM systems. We've got to have buy-in from the team that we're going to follow these protocols, because there are inputs into that system that make it work. So, you know, we've created some processes, and I'm very obsessive, compulsive, or maniacal around, you know, the cleanliness of the data and the quality control of the CRM system, because I want the CRM system to do the hard work for us, to act as our, you know, brain, if you will, around all the things happening with respect to our various client relationships, so that we don't have to, as a team, keep them in our own minds and keep our minds filled with these, you know, action lists or to-do lists. We can let the CRM do that hard work. And so then if there's something that, you know, I'm responsible for on a client, because it's, you know, I have a lot of experience in navigating some area of something with respect to a regulation or a correction that needs to be made, the CRM is going to tell me, okay, Alex, you need to do this for this organization, and it's due by next Friday, right? Even if it's, you know, one of the plans that Allison is serving as the main point of contact on.
Right. Okay. Well, that's really helpful. I think that's a struggle we encounter a lot in this industry, is we want to keep growing, and we reach a certain point. And I know I'm in this battleground right now of, I want to really take amazing care of my clients. So the service level has to be super high, and which takes a ton of effort. And when I'm doing that, I'm not putting an effort into creating content and building like a sales funnel, right? Finding new opportunities and having opportunities. Because in the last week, we've got 3 new plans, and now I've got a lot of effort to put into those, which is going to be, you know, kind of a busy time right now between now and Thanksgiving. So I think it's a struggle. We're always wanting to grow. And that's a question I get from almost every advisor, and every wholesaler is trying to solve it for them, is we want more opportunities. We want to grow and win. And I think there's a point where we have to think, do we really want to keep growing? Is there a certain really sweet spot that we want to get to? And there's another level we might want to, but let's work on a lifestyle kind of business versus this massive growing company that is managing thousands of plans. I mean, I just don't, that's a very different business model that I'd say the more normal answer, the more common answer is definitely the small niche, you know, advisor that has a handful of plans. Which I was curious, do you have a niche, a certain kind of client, or are you pretty much, is it a size of client, an industry? Where do you guys really focus your efforts from a new acquisition standpoint?
So as you grow, I think it makes sense to be able to analyze and understand where you're getting the most satisfaction personally and professionally, and same for your team as you build a team, and where you are building the most meaningful relationships and delivering value for your clients. And I think that somewhat by fortune or luck allowed us to identify a couple of niches in which we have the majority of our clients. So today, a little more than half of our client relationships are nonprofit organizations and trade associations. And from a geographic perspective, there's a good marketplace here in the Washington, D.C. area in that space. But more importantly, the culture and character of those organizations align really well with our mission, vision, and values. And so that has become an area where we feel really confident and comfortable that we can help navigate the complex rules and regulations they need to follow, deliver awesome retirement plans to them and their employees, and create mutually beneficial relationships. And then professional service firms make up another large swath of our client relationships, probably another almost 30% today. And that's a little more broad. I would say professional, accounting, medical, engineering, IT, firms.
Like high income, kind of high tax bracket people, right?
Well, usually, bigger. They're typically the bigger organizations, not massive. Most of our clients are kind of small to mid-sized businesses that have anywhere from maybe a few hundred to a few thousand employees. But they're typically organizations that are delivering professional services, and so they're really in a battle for maintaining and attracting talent because their employees are highly sought after from their peers and competitors. Their time is really important because they're out on, client sites or working on client projects and billing hours. And they're also looking for the most efficient strategies to prepare for their retirement. So those two areas in particular have been the two industries in which we've been able to identify. And early on, as you're building your client relationships and building your business, you don't have really the fortune or the ability to be as selective, right? But the earlier I think that you can identify that, the earlier that you can start to transition that way, will be as most beneficial for everybody involved, for you and as you grow your team, but also for your clients.
Totally agree. And that's what I'm constantly trying to tell advisors that I'm coaching is you need a niche, because it seems like you're limiting your opportunities, but you're really not. You're creating more because you're going to go deeper into this one area, and you can spend more time being in their world, not just in this 401k broad world, because what you're doing with nonprofits and, organizations with thousands of people is very different from me with a 50-person medical group, right? It's very different service model. And so you can't be great at all of it. So why not be the best at one of those? So, but it's okay to have multiple as you grow. I think that's fine. It'll be natural that you'll start to find those silos that kind of line up. I mean, I'm at the point now, I literally just want to help radiologists across the country. Like, they're the most perfect situation for a cash balance plan, and they need a lot of help, and they're great to work with. They're really tough on me. They like to, figure out everything, and they read every word you send them. And I like that because we get into some good thoughts and really ideas around how to best work through this whole problem that they have of high income earners. They have debt, and now they're paying a huge amount of tax. I mean, I love it. So that's my big encouragement to most advisors is you figure out that niche first. And
it allows you to build the best version of yourself and your business too, because you're so energized and excited around it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that for our long-term sustainability, I know just from the interactions that we've had, I think we're aligned, you and I, in terms of thinking about how are we doing a great job serving our clients? How are we doing a great job in as business entrepreneurs and leaders, but also how are we managing, our mental health and our own sort of long-term sustainability. And I think that, to be able to be successful, however you describe it, for the long term, it's about doing things that are meaningful and impactful for others as well as yourself, and really taking, a degree of just energy and excitement in doing that. Because if you're doing work that I think, and not to say, there are definitely days that I'm sure everybody has, that you're like, oh, this is going to be, this one's going to be a struggle. I got to do, 4 hours of perhaps maybe not the most exciting part of my role or my business. But, when you have that phone call with somebody who is really struggling with, their overall financial picture and their cash flow, and they've got credit card debt and they don't have a lot saved for retirement and they don't have emergency savings, and you can help build a game plan with them in an aspirational way to start taking the steps to improve their life, and hold them accountable over a course of 4 weeks and 4 months and maybe even 4 years.
Yeah.
Like, to me,
That's super fun.
that's that's the high, right? That's like, the 60-mile bike ride. That's running, the marathon, kind of thing from a professional setting. Yeah,
totally right. Yeah, that even reminds me, I was supposed to be in New York this weekend running the marathon, so I'm kind of bummed. That would have been a big highlight for me, but one day.
How many have you done so far? Have you run marathon?
I think I've done like 11 or 12.
Wow.
I did a bunch when I was young, and that was kind of what really, when I was 12 years old, I ran my first one, and it gave me so much confidence that I could do anything. So it's always been a big part of my life.
I've run 2. I've done 2 marathons. I have a really funny story that when we get together, or maybe some other time, I'll tell you about the second one. But 11 or 12, that's really impressive.
Yeah, running's a weird thing, and marathons is such a strange, I don't know, thing to tell people about. That you tell them how fun it was, and it just makes no sense to someone that's never done it. You feel just so beat up and trashed, but you feel so good at the end at the same time. It's such a strange emotion that you really can't explain. So it's a good thing, and it's the same with, I think, the struggle people have in their finances, right? Like, most people just don't have the help they need. And here we are living in this, we do this all day long, and it seems so easy to us, but it's a difficult thing for a lot of people. And if we can give them some hope and some confidence, that's so rewarding. And that's, I think, one of the biggest driving factors for most people to stick around in this industry, because the margins are pretty slim, and you have to have a strong why or you're going to give up. And that's kind of,
well, I also think that, that's why, these folks like Dave Ramsey and others, I think, are just really impressive in what they do. And look, I think that our industry, there's the ability to have so much like dissent or hate on somebody's like concepts around the steps you should take with your financial life. And I kind of take the opposite approach of, like, there are a lot of different ways that each individual can improve and get on track and achieve their financial goals and their life goals. So I'd rather widen that net, right? So that whether you're, a subscriber of Dave Ramsey or, of Jake Rushton or Alex Assaley or whomever else, the ability to give people the steps and meaningful kind of guidance. We could look at a lot of different ways, and you might say, hey, do this part first, pay down your mortgage first before you do whatever else. And I might disagree, but as long as we're helping people kind of, collect and gather and move towards a better place when it comes to their money, like, I'm all for it. Yeah. I think it's great.
Just take action. That's the key. So to wrap it up, I appreciate your time, and I want to have this one last question because I think it's really helpful for the audience. If you were to go back and start over, just like right from the fresh, 2007 or eight, whenever you started in this industry, what would you have done differently? What advice would you give yourself back then?
Uh, so I guess probably, I don't know. That's tough. I would say probably listen more. And, I've tried to be really, really thoughtful and introspective and present from an emotional intelligence standpoint. But now as I've progressed through, the last 15 years, I first started in late 2005. I look back on some of those early sort of meetings in 2006, 7, 8, probably even 2009. And just like, you become this you start to collect all this information and you just want to share it and share it and share it. And I probably would have been a more effective and efficient advocate and advisor for companies and for employees and prospective clients if I did a better job listening and learning. I'll leave you with, I think, this really great idea or really great concept. Really, I'll be quick with it. And I can't even remember where I learned it, but I think it applies to almost anything in life. So there are these 4 stages of expertise or knowledge within a certain skill set. So if we're talking about like being a retirement plan advisor or practitioner. And so the first one is unconscious incompetence. And so the idea is that you're not competent as an advisor, like to serve clients or employees, but you're not even conscious of it, or you don't even know the problems that you don't even know the things that you don't know. You don't even know the problems that exist, right? And as you grow and learn, you go to the next level, which is conscious incompetence. And so that's really meaningful because then you realize, okay, I'm not an expert in plan design. I'm not an expert in, quantitative investment analysis, but I know that somebody else is, and that I know that it's a meaningful part of what I should be delivering to clients, as an example.
Yeah.
And as you continue to progress, then you get to this this next level. So unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, and then the next level is conscious competence. And so I think that's where probably a lot of people are, where you're a great advisor, you do a lot of great work, but you really need to continue to hone that craft and that skill set around it. And so what we were talking about earlier, and preparing for review meetings and preparing for prospective client meetings. And then the next level, kind of the top area, is unconscious competence, right? Because you have so much knowledge, experience, and expertise that you perhaps don't even have to think about that, some of those things anymore. You still have to practice, right? You still have to hone your skills. Yeah. But there's this degree of just knowledge that you've built over the years of your experience and your work. And if you read like, the Tipping Point, Malcolm Gladwell, it's like the 10,000 hours of work on something gets you, kind of building up this ladder. But I think that, if you can grapple or put that in your mind and try to realize where you are on that scale at all points of your life, whether it's in your business or, certain things that are goals in your personal life, I think it's really a way to be thoughtful around how to improve and how to get better. And so I always, try to think about that of, okay, where am I? How do I get better? What can I do to get better? Who should I listen to? Who should I learn from? Where can I find this information? And so that's the way I've done it.
I love that. That makes so much sense. Yeah. I mean, it's really easy to kind of think through where you are on certain things. Like last week, I had meetings from 8 to 9 at night. And I mean, the last meeting, I told my wife, I was like, I don't even remember what I said. Like, it was a big enrollment meeting, and I'm just like doing a webinar with a few people around me, and all the other people remote. And like, I really don't recall. I was just spitting it off. Like, I'm at that point with a new plan enrollment meeting because I've done it so many times. But there's other times where, a plan design, I don't think I'll ever be to a point where I feel, that I know what I'm everything, because I don't think that's possible, honestly.
Hmm.
There's just so much that can come up there. And I think that's really important to be self-aware, go back to Gary Vee, like you got to know what you do know, and don't pretend you don't know something, and just be aware enough that it's okay to rely on help. I love that. That's a great, four phases. I love that. Awesome.
Yeah. So, anyway, hopefully that's worthwhile for the folks who will stick around for the whole podcast and check this thing out. But thanks so much for having me, man.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I appreciate you today. I'm really looking forward to the day that we get to hang out and spend more time together. And always love when your content comes out, and I learn stuff, and I've even shared a couple of your videos with people. So I really hope you keep it up. And if I can ever do anything to help you, I'm always available. And if anyone listening to this wants to reach out to Alex, he's very approachable. So I would definitely take the time to get his attention, because it would be very valuable to have that from him. So have a wonderful day, Alex. A great weekend. Happy Halloween. Be safe.
Same to you. Thank you very much. Great to see you. Take care, everybody.
Okay.